Welcome into the Toyota Lounge. This is the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Kind of a big day in Avalanche news as the Avalanche end-of-season presser did happen with Gabe Landeskog and Chris McFarland. The most important news of the day, Gabe Landeskog wearing the foot logo hat. Does that mean the Avs are bringing back the best shoulder patch in the league?
Maybe that's an alternate logo that they would like to use on a jersey in the future.
You know that thing would sell out in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah, it was on our shoulders.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I remember those were sick.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yep.
I'm just biased. I'm mad they took out the red line.
All I'm saying is...
I mean, everybody's biased towards the Yeti logo. We all loved it.
All I'm saying is they should release the foot logo as a third jersey.
Yes.
The same day Utah announces their name is the Yeti.
They should do it the day before.
Just to steal their thunder?
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm sold on this.
I like it.
Definitely.
Let's get that rivalry going a little bit.
Piss on their parade. You know how it is.
Do they
That sounds
get
gross.
to keep the weird Arizona magic where a bunch of funky things happen every time they play Colorado, though?
Yeah, that stayed in Arizona.
I hope you're right.
Stay at the mall.
Same with their weird goalie voodoo. That dies.
Dies in Utah.
Yeah, it dies in Utah.
All right. Fair enough. No, obviously the big news of the day coming out of Gabe Landeskog not retiring.
Wow. We are all so shocked by this. I was blown away by that speculation yesterday of like...
How this could be his retirement presser.
Yeah. Like, guys, they would have done it. Do y'all remember when other big names retired?
It was a whole thing.
It was a whole shebang.
Yep.
Not, hey, we're going to do this at FSC.
In the media room.
Yeah. And like, come on, guys.
Then Gabe walks out in a t-shirt and shorts, and you're like, okay.
Like, just in case this was going to happen. It's definitely not happening today. No. Might still retire, but it was never going to happen today, in my opinion.
I mean, we'll talk a lot about what Gabe and McFarland had to say, but why beat around the bush? Let's hear from Gabe Landeskog himself, a good portion of the presser, where he talked about his rehab process so far.
Big group poll, if you can raise your hands like we do in the playoffs. And just before we start, the big news, Gabe is not retiring. I would hope, Gabe, too, at your retirement press conference, you'd wear something a little better.
Yeah, I think I'd dress up a bit
T-shirt and a
more.
hat, maybe
Yeah.
suit and tie, and probably in a bigger room than the media room at Family Sports.
Yeah.
All right, we'll open it up to
Great,
questions.
guys.
We're going to start with Pat Graham.
Dave, how you doing? Nice to see you. I guess, how close did you get, and do you think you're on track for maybe season opener next year?
How close did I get? I guess we'll never really know, right? Like, it's such a big difference from laying, like what I'm doing is essentially laying the foundation to skating, my new kind of skating technique, with a new piece of my knee, right? Laying the foundation and playing in an NHL playoff game is very different. And I'm sure you guys all witnessed it. I mean, mentally, I felt pretty close at times. I'm like, all right, well, I can do this. I can go out there for a few shifts here and there. But I think the best decision was made to just for me to focus on what I was doing throughout the entire playoffs, as hard as it was and as much as I wanted to be out there. It was ultimately the best decision for my health. And I think long-term for this organization as well.
Eric.
A lot of the drills that we saw you doing and skating the last handful of months, you weren't obviously going at full speed or going at an NHL pace. Is that a matter of physically you just aren't able to do those movements yet, or is this a matter of doctors telling you to just ease it and slow it down?
I think it's more about earning the right to progress in what I'm doing. I think when you get in trouble, and when I have gotten in trouble throughout this process, is when I do something that I'm not necessarily ready for, or I haven't earned the right to progress in those movements. And I have a really good team of people around me, and we're just taking it step by step. I'd love to go faster. I'd love to go harder. There are days when I go out there and I'd love to try to go for a max sprint for a puck, but I know that's not going to be the best decision for my health. And you just, like I said, you got to earn the right to do those things. And there'll come a day when I get to do that. And but we got to do it step by step.
Ryan Boldy.
Can you just talk about, the frustration of being in the rehab process while watching the team compete in the playoffs, knowing what they're going through? Yeah,
I mean, it's just kind of a slow form of torture, I feel like. And, it's win or lose, you want to be out there with the guys, right? Like, even after heartbreaking losses, you want to be in the room with the guys. You want to be around the guys. You want to be there to support them and just kind of go through all those things with them, whether it's ups or downs. But at the end of the day, I knew it wasn't necessarily my time, and I tried to support the guys the best I could, be around the team, which was probably equally as important for the guys as it was for me as well, and for my mental state, just to be around the guys and around the team. So hard, no doubt, but I just kind of kept telling myself that, there'll come a time when you're back in there and your time will come, type of thing.
Troy and then Colleen.
Gabe, at this point in your career, what drives you and makes you want to do this? You've accomplished everything. I know you're young in human years, but you've won rings, you've been a captain. What drives you at this point to still want to continue on this journey?
A lot of things. I mean, listen, the logo that I'm wearing, to represent that the best way I can. The fan base have always been very supportive for me and my journey, no matter the ups and the downs that we've gone through. The 25 guys in that locker room, guys that are pushing me and watching the guys grind through an 82-game season plus playoffs. I mean, it's inspiring in and of itself. You see the challenges they go through on a daily basis. I can relate that to the challenges I go through, the ups and the downs. But I think ultimately, my family, right? Like, I got 2 young kids. They're 3 and 4 now. They were 2.5 and 1.5 when we won the cup, and that was the last time they saw me play. My son is now 3, and last night he slept with his hockey jersey on. He slept with his stick. He slept with his gloves, and it just like he loves hockey, and whether that's to my fault or not, because he's exposed to a lot of it, and he comes to practice sometimes. He comes to the games, and my daughter's old enough. She's 4 now, 4.5, and she kind of knows. I've explained to her, a handful of times that, they sometimes ask why I'm not playing, why I'm not out there, and I say I go to work, but my son will question, well, you're not skating though, you're not playing, so are you really going to work? And I've explained to them that I just, I need to get stronger, I need to get healthy, and I think that's honestly one of the main motivations for me, is to ultimately be able to one day look back at all of this craziness that I went through for years, and you overcome it, and you get through it, and you come out on the other side, and you're better because of it, and you got a boatload of experience. And my wife's been through the ringer. She's dealing with me the last 2 years, and I haven't been pleasant to deal with some days, and it's a big challenge, but so she's been sort of that rock for me, and I just can't wait to be back out there, and then come give my family big hugs after the game. It'd be pretty special.
Colleen, then Jesse.
Nate and Kale talk about being the leadership group in the room, being leaders on and off the ice. How have you adjusted from the sidelines, being that leader for the rest of the team?
I think that's a good question, because it's still something I'm wrestling with and trying to figure out. It's a different dynamic, obviously, and I think at the end of the day, it's hard to sort of, you're going through mental gymnastics on your own to get your mind right, to just keep going, keep putting one foot in front of the other for your own health and for your own career's sake, and at the same time kind of be that sounding board for the guys, right? Like, you're sort of torn there between the two, but at the end of the day, you just try to kind of be there for the guys, support them and however they need to be supported, and you know, when things are going well, they don't need me. And even when things go, like, there's so much leadership in that room, there's never really been a doubt for me. There's never really been a question of, do I need to talk to this guy? Do I need to do this? Do I need to check in with him? It's been pretty organic, and it's been really nice to be around the team since December. You know, and especially now down the stretch, being on the road, and all of a sudden you just feel like you're more part of the team again. You're missing out on road trips. You're missing out on quite a bunch, but proud of the way the guys have battled all season long. I mean, come away with 107 points or something. You know, and it's been a great season overall in terms of like a regular season. You know, I think our segments have been pretty, if you break it into 10-game segments, have been pretty dominant at times. You know, 7 2-1s a bunch of times, and there's a couple of segments around 500 where guys just find ways to kind of get back on track, change a couple of things, make some adjustments, and get back on the winning side of things. And you know, I'm never really surprised by what this group is doing. You know, led by obviously Nate and Kale, like you say, but also Mikko and Cogs and Taser. You know, there's plenty of guys in there with obviously winning pedigrees, but guys that are just always driven to do better. So it's been fun to see from the sidelines.
Jesse, then Rod.
That was a two-part question, one for each of you guys. Gabe, I guess we're not trying to pin you down to a date, training camp, and that is next season a realistic target for you to return to the lineup. And then Chris is potentially having to account for his cap hit coming back. You know, are you happy to have that problem?
You asked about next season?
Mm-hmm.
Between, when's training camp?
September, mid-September.
Mid-September and start of April. I feel pretty good about it.
So, a lot of conversation from Gabe there, ending with a vague, pretty confident he'll be back sometime next year.
He'll be back someday.
Can you really read into that very much?
The presser today was 49 minutes long.
I know.
How much of it did you genuinely read into?
Almost none.
Like 4 minutes of it?
If that.
A lot of this was exactly what I tweeted yesterday. Gabe's working really hard to try and come back. They're going to give him every opportunity to do that. And C Mac and the front office are facing a really challenging
avenues,
facing a really challenging summer. Yeah. And I liked the part where C Mac laid out the schedule.
Yep.
Like, oh.
Who knew free agency was your life?
We're doing our meetings, and then we've got to prepare for the draft. And then maybe something comes up. Who knows? Then free agency. Then we'll figure it out.
Inspiring stuff.
Like, all true.
Yep.
This is all factually true.
What vibe do you take from the Landy stuff, though? To me, it seemed generally positive. He talked about not having any setbacks for 2 months. He was willing to at least say he feels pretty good about coming back next year, even if he wouldn't really give a defined timeline. Do you feel a little bit better about it?
No.
Okay.
He hasn't played a game in 2 years.
That's true.
He had an experimental surgery. He's in month 12 of a 12 to 18 month recovery process. Spend that money. You absolutely, I'm sorry. I love Landy. You can't go into the season next year saying, well, he's definitely coming back, so we're just going to hold that money just in case. It's 2 years. The vibe and all of that, like, he's going to try, which is why we were like, he was not retiring today. Come on, give me a break. He's going to try. But as a front office, you have to spend his money. You can't just hold it. Because if you get into the season next year and Landy's like, all right, guys, I'm fully good to go. Great. Then you figure that out.
Sure.
But if you just sit on $13 million of dead money over the year and that you may or may not have on the ice for you next year, and if it's a may not, you have done the rest of that roster a giant disservice.
Yep. It's true.
I can understand with the Val stuff, we're in unprecedented waters with that.
We'll talk about.
So
some
that's a
of
little
that,
different.
yeah.
But when it comes to Landeskog, he's missed 2 seasons. Spend his money. Spend $5 million of it. You don't have to spend all 7 of it. Spend 5 of it.
But I also agree with what Chris has told us before too,
Yeah.
right? About hey, he's earned the right? He's Mr. Avalanche. He's our captain, right? He's our and we respect him, we love him. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. It's like at some point now, it's 0 for 2, the last 2, right? So it's like, what are the odds that you're gonna go 1 for 3? I don't know. You could easily go 0 for 3. And you're right. You're doing a disservice to the other ones. Easier said than done. I know that's what you're saying. You're not saying like, oh, it's the easiest thing to do. Do it. You know what I mean? Of course. We wouldn't want to be in his shoes. I'm talking about Chris's shoes. You know, we wouldn't want to be in C Mac's shoes this summer right now doing that. There's a lot of uncertainty. But I agree with you. I think you can do it to a certain extent.
Boy, I just feel more confident than you guys did based on what he said, I think. And I get it's a presser and, you know, there's a bunch of scripted answers.
No. I was going to get to that too. Like, I agree with you. I think he's doing everything. No, I don't think he was scripted. Like, you know, I'm talking about Gabe.
There's a lot of scripted Chris McFarland quotes on there. I guarantee you that
but from Gabe, like, I think Gabe truly wants to see if he can do it, right? You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, like, from him. I think he's the only one that's going to know if he can do it.
I think that's true for sure.
Right? You know what I mean? And it's like, it's on. You talking about Val, like unprecedented. So's Gabe. Like, is you know, there's no
Literally an
history with that.
experimental surgery.
It is, and it's hard. And he's worked his whole life for this, and worked his whole life for another good contract. Gets the contract. Thank God. That's awesome. You know, thank God. But I'm saying is, he's not going to just sit on that. He wants to know if he can help this team. And you know, last week, especially when the news of Val came out, it's like, gosh darn it, I wish I was there too to help my boys out, my fellow teammates and everything. So, you know, it's heating them inside. It is hard. But do I think he's going to do it? Like, I don't know. Rudo's probably the one out of the 3 of us that thinks he's going to play the most, which is awesome, you know. And we hope the most, all 3 of us, that he's going to play, right? That's not what we're saying. Who knows? It's such a freaking cloudy water. You'll never know. And I agree with what you just said, AJ, about maybe you spend some of it. You know, easier said than done. I understand. You know, it is tricky. You know, that's why we don't want to be Chris on this summer. Those are.
I'll do it.
Okay. Well,
give me his job. Give me his salary.
I'll
right. Do it.
We'll switch.
I'll make decisions, and then you guys can fire me in November. Sounds good.
But you know what I mean. We all respect Chris. We were just joking right now, but
yeah, obviously.
I know you're not. But I know you are. I'm saying, I don't want people to think you're like. It's a tough spot because it's never been done before. Really, I mean, it's a tough. It's a tough file. You know what I mean? So, but hey, Gabe will know. If he can play, Gabe will know once he gets out there. Gabe will,
I'm just saying, like, maybe I'm reading into it too much, but there are a couple of quotes that he snuck in there. It's like, you know what? At times I felt like I could have gone out there and taken a couple of shifts. I'm sure I could go all out, but it's a process where we're working on the long term of it because it's better for me and for the team. I think
it's been pretty long term, buddy.
I get that, but I think there's some things in there where it just feels like I think he's going to play next year.
I hope you're right.
And maybe he goes out and tries and it doesn't work.
I hope you're right.
The other part of if he's healthy, I don't think it's going to be in September or October.
No,
that's the other reason where I'm like, look, spend the money because then you'll know what's up with Val by then.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the two are inextricably linked because you either have $13 million worth of two-way forwards that are going to drop into your roster at some point next season, or you don't.
Yep. Maybe you get one, maybe you get both, maybe you get none.
And with one of them, you have a situation that you just don't know what to do. And with Landy, it's just an injury.
Mm-hmm.
Just an injury. But
at least that situation is pretty black and white.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He can play. He can't play.
I was gonna say that.
Right now, he can't play.
Like, as much as, you know, like, what Chris has told us, actually, like, it is a tricky situation with Landy because of, I mean, he's earned the right, like we just talked about, and it's so hard, and it's 2 years now. Then Val comes along, and it's even trickier.
Yeah.
You're right? You know what I mean? So it's a tough spot for Chris.
We'll get into Val in a second. First of all, if you want to watch the entire 49-minute presser, it is uploaded on our YouTube channel. You can go watch the whole thing. So go check that out. Secondly, if you have some financial decisions, it's not nearly as complicated as the Avs situation. Just get with Westera Credit Union. They've been around here in Colorado since 1934 with 9 locations in the Denver metro area, and they're all about helping members financially prosper. They're all about education. It was started by a group of school teachers, so helping others is in their DNA. What are you giggling about over there?
I got a text message saying we have an opening position for part-time and full-time jobs.
Sick. Have fun.
No idea who this is.
Frank Pepe.
That's definitely real.
Westera just launched an awesome new product, their Smart Money Checking. It's a checking account designed to help you earn unheard of interest on smaller balances with other great perks. Up to 6% annual percentage yield on your first $2,000 each month. And as your balance grows, so does your potential to unlock additional great rates for higher balances. On top of the interest you can earn, this account also comes with a rewards debit card, has no monthly or maintenance fees, and so much more. So get with Westera Credit Union today. If you like earning money by doing the things you're already doing with your checking account, visit westeracu.com/smartmoney for more details. Membership eligibility required, insured by NCUA. Restrictions and conditions apply. And once you've got your smart money set up, you can always have a little bit of fun money too. Get in with ClutchBet. It's excited to be partnered with us here at DNVR because they give the most options when it comes to unique local sports bets here in Colorado. Even if you don't want to bet on Colorado teams because, unfortunately, the Avs and Nuggets are eliminated, you can still find great bets on ClutchBet. You can go in with their NHL promos, including insurance on all first goal scorer bets and NHL parlays throughout the playoffs. So, you know, go bet on the Panthers because go Panthers. Or you can go, I don't know, who do we want to win between the T-Wolves and the Mavs? I'm a Luka fanboy, so.
Me too. Always have been.
There you go. Go Mavs.
That was weird.
Whatever it is, go get your bets in with ClutchBet. New ClutchBet players are also eligible to receive a 100% first bet match up to $250 in bonus bets paid over your first 5 weeks with code DNVR250. Download the ClutchBet Sportsbooks app today and be sure to keep an eye out for other great promotions and offers on both the Rockies, Broncos, and, Avs and Nuggets. All 4 of the big 4 here in Denver. Must be 21 or older and located in the state of Colorado. Gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-GAMBLER if you or someone you know needs help. So, the Gabe Landeskog situation is what it is.
Sorry.
After Landy's kind of own conversation, they moved on to the Val Nichushkin conversation. And I don't know. I know you can't take a ton out of Landy's conversation from a presser like this. I don't know that you can take anything out of this Val Nichushkin conversation that was had on here.
Yeah.
Other than like the official stuff that we already knew where the timeline is 6 months because that's the NHL rules. The confirmation on the idea that at very least while he's in the player assistance program, his contract can't be terminated.
Yeah. Also doesn't count against the salary cap.
Yep. To me, there's not a ton there. Can you read into it at all? Compared to the vibes we got from some of the player comments in the moment after he was suspended, it seemed like maybe McFarland was a little bit more open than we thought to Val potentially coming back.
They say it's very plausible he returns.
Yeah. Is that just him reading the script or is there something there?
No, I'm sorry, but there's no way. Eric, you could speak better to this, obviously. You've been in NHL locker rooms, but absolutely fucking not.
And again, we'll reiterate this again. Like, it's got nothing to do with the addiction. Like, we're not right? We're compassionate people about the addiction. And it's not Val that did that, it's the addiction. Yeah, maybe, but when I'm saying it's got consequences too, and I think everybody wishes his well-being and his family and of course. But the fact of the matter is, at his profession, things have been affected. You know what I mean? And it's affected other players. It's affected managers. It's affected fans. It's affected. So I think Chris said it today too. Like, he's going to have to, there's no trust anymore, right? I mean, because of multiple occasions.
Yeah, of course.
So I think it's tough. I'll just speak on my experience. Once you get to that stage, sometimes it's tough to regain that trust. It just is, because it's those years don't. It's a short career, right? You know, you have a short career as a player, and those years don't come back. So now your window of, you know, having success as a team, and you gotta remember it's a team sport. If Val was, you know, a soccer player or tennis player, or, you know, where, you know, the addiction takes over, it's an individual sport.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different when you're in a team sport with salary cap and roster consequences. And again, we care about the human being. Everybody does. So those are the players. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it affects that. And I think that it's going to be tough to overcome in my book. You know what I mean? To keep moving forward and have some uncertainty like that. You know what I mean? And fair or not, I think I agree with you. I don't see it.
I saw a comment up here that said, what if Val tested positive for a substance that is advertised on this show? I would say, so fucking what? All of the companies that advertise with us are legal substances? Yeah. We advertise weed in Colorado. Like, what does it matter? I've seen multiple people ask this question, which is the only reason I'm addressing it.
Look, Val Nichushkin signed a contract with explicit wording on what they are and are not allowed to do.
Well, and there's an NHLPA, and there's a program that he got entered into where I feel like I have the axe to grind here, where I guess it's maybe not an axe to grind. It's my frustration is last year, the thing in Seattle happens, right?
Yep.
The Avs pull him out of there, and they send him to start phase 1 of the program.
Mm-hmm.
They all sit down. My understanding of it is that a couple of the people in the organization sat down with Val, and they talked through it and said, he needs to go into player assistance program. He needs to get
the help you need. Yep.
He needs to get help.
Yep.
So he goes in. That starts this process. Okay? And then this January, the NHL steps in and says, hey, he has failed his conditions to continue playing in the league. Now he's into phase 2. Okay? Then he comes back, and once again, in this postseason, he fails his conditions to continue playing in the league. He's in phase 3. He's automatically suspended.
Yep.
Okay. So this starts with the Avs, and obviously this is not entirely altruistic, but it starts with the Avalanche sitting down with the player and saying, we're going to try and get you the help that you need. Let's work together. Let's try and find the avenue. Everybody's on the same page. And now, because the player has not resolved these issues, obviously the player is punished, but so is the organization.
Yep.
And so if I'm running another organization,
it's a bad look.
Am I not looking at this saying, I'm not sending anybody to the player assistance program because I could get put in this bind in the future?
Yep.
Because it starts with the Avs talking with the player and saying, let's try and get you help.
Yep.
And leaning on a resource that is there to help a player. And at the moment, and there's a lot of people out there who will tell you that punitive programs for addiction issues don't help the person. I don't know enough about addiction to get into all of that, but I can tell you that right now it's punitive for both player and team. And how is that a good program?
Punishing a team for trying to help their player just is bad luck.
How is that a good program? That's the part with Sam Girard. You're like, the player went to the organization, said, I need help.
Yep.
Goes into it, puts the work in, and for the moment is okay. A year from now, if Sam Girard has issues and the NHL has to pull him out of there, you're right back in this boat.
Yep.
Why would any team ever encourage a player to go back to the player assistance program? It's punitive for both player and organization. This is the part of it that is crazy to me.
Yeah. I don't have a good answer.
I guess
for
I just
you.
don't understand it because we saw Corey Perry had his contract terminated for whatever it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or use Galchenyuk or whatever, you know.
Alex Galchenyuk, I've got a list. Alex Galchenyuk has his contract terminated for what we saw.
Yep.
What we saw was an ugly incident.
It's on footage. Yeah.
Evander Kane got his contract terminated. There were so many things on the board. And some of them were investigated, and some of it was true, and some of it wasn't. I don't even know how it all turned out because there was so much with it. Yep. And Evander Kane just like carried on. But the Sharks were able to just be like, we're out of this. It's not our problem anymore.
Yep.
But the Avs, in this case, the Avs try to help a player out, send him to this program, and because the player continues to struggle with it, now they're both in hot water.
You're just stuck now.
My question is, how does this make sense?
I understand your point now. I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How is it that
I do.
both sides are getting punished? And when it comes to the addiction and it comes to Val Nichushkin, I don't know what the answer is. Genuinely, I am not well versed enough on addiction issues. I just don't know. I don't know how to help in that situation, which I thought was an illuminating thing for Gabe Landeskog to say today. One of his reactions was, how could I better help him? The organization has tried for the last year to help him. The organization did a lot of things behind the scenes to try to help him. It's not like the organization just turned a blind eye and said, okay, well, you're back. Figure it out, buddy. They tried. They tried to help him. And
Agree.
We're in this position now, and he's... Now the organization is sitting here going, we have no idea what to do. Because we're not allowed to terminate the contract. We also can't let him back in our locker room.
Yep.
The players would revolt. I feel perfectly confident.
You could just go back and watch those player interviews.
I feel perfectly confident that the players that are in that locker room right now are not going to accept him back in the room. You are completely understandable in that sense. It's not about trying to ruin his career or anything like that. It is time for the organization to move on from the player, and they have no mechanism to do so after trying to help him. And yet you look around the league and you see multiple examples of teams moving on from situations.
Yeah.
How does this make sense? How does this make sense?
It
Well
doesn't.
explained.
It-
It's well explained. Like it is. Maybe Chris should hire you right now. You know what I mean? I'm not being sarcastic. I'm saying like, because the way you said it, you're right. Because then both get punished. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And it's obvious. Look, Val obviously needs help.
Yep.
He needs to put work in. He needs to try and get on top of this. I don't have any issue with, hey, he needs to go and focus on that right now. But he got put into a program. There were conditions. He violates that multiple times. This happens 3 times. He gets all 3 levels in a 12-month span. So very clearly, this has not worked for him yet.
Yep.
I don't know what's going to magically change in the 6 months. I don't know. Sometimes the light bulb comes on for people. You never know when. You never know when rock bottom is going to be. But I struggle with the part that the team is being hurt here for trying to help the player. And I don't know why. If I'm watching this, I don't know why a team would ever try and do it again for fear that they might end up here someday.
What?
And that to me is a huge problem here. And I'm not arguing. I'm not trying to take Val's money away. I'm just let the lawyers fight that part out. But an organization, there should be a mechanism here to be allowed. Once you get deep enough into this program,
You will.
he's in phase 3.
Well, what I would say from
This is a third strike, a literal third strike.
what I would say from a business perspective here is the league needs to add some clarity as to what's going on here. Because from the Colorado Avalanche side of this, yes, of course you want Val to get healthy, and that's priority number 1. But when you're trying to build a hockey team this year on July 1st, Val Nichushkin could be back in mid-November. And you know, ignoring whether the team wants him back or not, that's either $6 million dropping into your lineup in the middle of November. But you don't even know if that's the case because he needs to be cleared to come back after those 6 months.
Yeah.
It's not even a guarantee that he will be out of the program and back by then. And then if he is
It's
back,
just the first day he's allowed to come back.
We have no idea if the league will clear him to come back. And if he is cleared to come back, it's not exactly clear whether the Avs can initiate a contract termination or not at that point.
And it's none of it is clear. And this is the part where I guess clarity or confusion is really how I have felt about this the more that we have gotten into it. He's clearly struggling.
To the guy in our Toyota chat, he's been into the player assistance program 3 times, and we know for a fact the 3rd time is because he failed a drug test. So,
and both the 2nd and 3rd times were league initiated.
I see a lot of people speculating on random shit in our chat also. Like, there are a lot of unknown details here. You got to work with the facts a little bit. A lot of people are just speculating on the reasons why or how this happened and what it is.
Right. We're talking about how he progressed through the program.
Right.
This is what we've done our homework on and we've talked about.
The facts are he's been into the program 3 times. Certainly, stage 2 and 3 were initiated by the league, including the 3rd time being a failed drug test. As far as how he ended up in those situations, that's the extent of what is known.
And I just don't know. I don't know. The player assistance program is supposed to be there to help players. And that doesn't mean to help players until they fail X number of tests. It should be there to help players, not hurt teams.
I agree.
And at the moment, just looking at it, that's what it's doing. And I don't know how that is supposed to set up. I don't know how that is to encourage future teams from ever trying to use the program again.
I wish I had a better answer for you.
Because we know, let's be real here, there are guys in the league who are not in this program who don't think they have a problem, but they absolutely do.
Yep.
And their organizations, you know what it's like running a team, being part of that organization, being part of the front office of an organization, Eric. You know, guys struggle with this stuff. It is a normal thing. Mm-hmm. Not going to say it's all the guys in the league or whatever, but
for sure.
It is a normal thing within league. In every sports league, every pro league, when guys get access to that much money, they do stuff with it. It is normal in everyday life, yes.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a program supposed to be helping players, and
feels way less like helping and more like punishing for getting caught. Like,
it's punitive.
Yep.
And I don't know what the right answers are. I would love, at some point, I would love to bring on an addiction doctor to the show and just talk about, hey, here's how the system is set up. What are some of the best approaches? I would love to have that conversation with a specialist that deals with addiction on a regular basis. Just to talk about, is this a good system from the outside, obviously? Is this good? Is this bad? Does this make sense? Whatever. But from a league perspective, this makes no sense.
It's while I agree with you, I also see some side of it to a point where players talk about it all the time. Playing in the NHL is a privilege. And it is very clear that Val Nichushkin has violated some of the rules that NHL players have to abide by. It's reality of the situation where Nichushkin has not lived up to what he has agreed to play in the NHL.
Yep.
With that being said, I still don't understand how you end up in a situation where a player is suspended for 6 months and the follow-up recourse is nobody knows.
Well, and there's a human element of you absolutely cannot let him in your locker room again.
Yeah, for sure.
Reinstatement, he gets clean, he does whatever he needs to do. He gets on the other side of his issues. You can't let him in your locker room.
Yep.
And you haven't given his organization any opportunity to move on until mid-November, after the window is closed for teams to do things.
Doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
It makes no sense.
I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. at this
Yeah,
point.
and I know that time is all. We're already deep into this, so when I know there are other things we want to get to, but anyway,
No, I know, but it's an important
it's been.
subject. It is,
It's been
you know.
something that's been sitting with me for a few days. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, I just don't get it. All right. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, they're in a bind. That's what we know, right? The Avs are in a bind this summer with the uncertainty of those 2 contracts. That's reality, right? So
It's going to shape the Avalanche offseason one way or another. It is what it is. On that note, we are brought to you by the folks over at Volo Sports. If you want to get in on your own recreational sports action, make sure you get the Volo Pass today. Use code DNVR3 to get $10 off your first 3 months even, of the Volo Pass, where you get unlimited drop-ins and pickups for all sorts of sports, from basketball to bowling to darts, all the way to flag football and everything in between. You can get it with Volo. So get signed up today with the biggest sports social company in the country. The Volo Pass even works in other cities. If you're traveling and just want to go get some sports in or meet some new people, you can be here in Denver. You can fly out to Kansas City. You can go out to any number of other cities where Volo operates and get in. It goes beyond sports even, too. Like we talk about all the time. They come into the DNVR bar and play Flip Cup here like once a week. So you can just go have a good time, get to know some new
twice
people.
now.
Is it twice a week now?
Yeah,
Oof,
It's
they go
one-
hard.
I think there's a Sunday group and I think there's a middle of the week group. And you are not kidding. They go hard.
It's real. It's real stuff.
I
When
tell you
Volo
what,
shows up, man.
those dudes make me feel like I want to get into Volo just to play games with them in the bar afterwards.
There you go. It's got something for everyone. So go check them out. Download that Volo Sports app today and use that DNVR3 code to get the Volo Pass for just $10 a month for your first 3 months. And then if you're hanging out with Volo, or if you're hanging out at home and you're just trying to chill out, get yourself some Coors Light. The beer made to chill. The mountains turn blue on the Coors Light. You don't even have to go anywhere for the Coors Light. You can get it delivered right to your front door with CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Instacart will deliver Coors right to your front door with that. Whatever the occasion might be, whether you're hanging out at a barbecue or you're going to karaoke or even after a tough loss and trying to forget about it, whatever it might be, with your evening chill, Coors Light is the mountain cold refreshment for you. Of course, go check out Coors whenever you can. They are brewed right here in Golden, Colorado. So I know we have a lot of non-Colorado fans and people that watch the show, but it's near and dear to our heart as a local.
An awful lot of Colorado people, though.
We do have a lot of Colorado people. That's true. Fair enough. Either way, go check out your Coors Light. Get in on the Coors delivery with Instacart at CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. In the second half of the interview, presser, whatever you want to call it, McFarland kind of, as we talked about, dives into the off-season plan, the salary cap that they're working with, a lot of those conversations. It ties in intrinsically with what we're already talking about, because the Avs have $13 million that are a question mark in their roster right now.
Yeah.
But they still need to figure out what they're going to do with that money going forward, whether it is, hey, we're saving it because we expect the guy to be back, or, hey, we're spending it because we don't. Obviously, the big internal conversation there is Jonathan Drouin.
Yeah. There's been a lot about that tweet. There have been a lot about the tweets of the text.
Yeah.
That Chris McFarland
Text
said.
and actual voice are a little...
Yeah. So, Tiff, can we play what he actually says about Jonathan Drouin?
June 30th. I think we'll get through our initial meetings internally and then make decisions on that. On Drouin, that's a different animal, right? He came in and took 800 or 825 or whatever it was to sort of reestablish himself and show the type of player that he can be, the hands and the skill which we were the beneficiaries of this year, in large part to his credit. He took advantage of the situation and had an incredible year. And again, at this time, I'd be lying to you if I said it would be a challenge. It won't be a challenge to get something done there at this time. We've got the cushion to deal with. You get 10%, over the cap. But the uncertainty of certain situations, we've got a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross and things to figure out on that over the next few weeks. But Joe is certainly a guy that that a lot of teams would love to have. Last year's Jonathan Drouin. He's young, he's skilled, he was dialed in and took advantage of the opportunity that was presented to himself. So, happy for him, and we'll definitely stay in touch with him over the next few weeks.
So maybe not quite as confident as
the text quote is a little misleading because he misspeaks at the beginning of it, and when he clarifies, it does not translate in text as obviously as it does when you watch it. Point being, it's going to be tough to keep Jonathan Drouin. It's something that we've been saying this entire time.
Yep.
I'm kind of at the point. I'm kind of at the point where I'm just saying I don't care. I'm signing him.
Find a way to keep him.
I'm signing him, and whatever happens with that $13 million between Landeskog and Nichushkin, you deal with it later. If those guys become part of your roster, you just deal with it later. If that means that you have to get to December 1st and you have to give away a good player for a 7th round pick, okay. It's so easy for me to sit here and say that. It is so easy for me to sit here and say that, and it's impossible to sit in Chris McFarland's seat right now and have the balls to make that kind of decision.
Is it? Is it impossible?
I think it is.
It's ballsy.
I think it's ballsy.
Today, I think it's impossible to make that decision.
I'm not.
June 25th, I think you got to start ramping it up and saying, all right, it's time to make hard decisions now.
Here's what I would say. Just kick that can down the road. Just sign Drouin and kick that decision can down the road.
Yeah, same.
We've seen Vegas do it year after year where they'll run that salary cap up and they'll figure it out later.
I agree with that. And then go back, play a pod from September, whatever it was. And I caught some flack with chat and everything about the Vontaes. I was like, you sign him, you figure it out later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, it's a little different. I'm not saying it's the same. It's not what I'm saying. But somewhere, somehow, it is the same. You figure it out.
Well, and they figured it out, and now they have Casey Middlestat.
That's what I'm saying. Because we knew. They're like, hey, it's not going to work when it wouldn't have worked, But then you can't just let him walk. So you sign him, and then you figure it out. So I think I have faith in those guys. Those guys are smart. They're smart people. They're going to figure out something. And then this is why I go like this, because Tiff didn't have the camera on me, on Drouin, I'm just hoping that.
Those are crossed fingers, not middle fingers.
Those are crossed fingers, sorry. Yeah, they're not.
They kind of look like middle fingers
and
at the right angle.
Yeah, they're not the big one, But hopefully it works out for him, and then something gets worked out, and it all falls into place.
An interesting comment in the Toyota chat from AJ here saying, I remember when you guys didn't want Drouin on the team. This was years ago, and the difference is between then and now. When we didn't want Drouin on the team,
he was making $6
it was
million.
because there were no top 6 forward spots available on the team.
And he was playing poorly, making
way more money than
$5.5 million.
Or whatever it was. Yeah.
He made $825 this last year, and we were all about that.
Yep.
And we're all about bringing him back because we have a year that is proof of concept.
Yep. And I'll say it. I'll say it to him look, I didn't want him in September. I'll be honest. I mean, that's okay. I didn't see it. But, it proved me wrong. That doesn't mean that people can't prove people wrong. He proved me wrong, and now he's worth,
It happens all the time in sports.
It happens all the time.
The math is, you don't have to overcomplicate it. If the Avs were to bring Drouin back at $5 million or whatever
Same person making that comment wanted Ivan Prosvetov to play over Justus Annunen because of how well he did with the Eagles. We all have opinions on this stuff, and we're all right and wrong about stuff.
There is not really a conversation here because the Avs forward core at the time we didn't want Drouin on the wings. Lehkonen, Rantanen, Landeskog, and Nichushkin were all locked into the lineup. There was no top 6 spot available.
He's not a bottom of the lineup guy. He'll be the first one to tell you.
Certainly not for the contract he was on and the contract that he would get if he's going to stay here. He needs to be in the top 6. Yep. There are just top 6 spots available now, given what's going on with obviously Landeskog and Nichushkin, whether they come back or whatever.
Circumstances is a big word when it comes down to players.
Definitely.
and their year in and year out grade reports. It's no different than school. You know what I mean? Like, you can have a great year, you can have a bad. I mean, it's just life, you know?
Yep.
So now you have to figure out, does he fit well in here? And he does. Did he fit in well at the start? No, he didn't. I was
Figured
right.
it out, though.
I was right at the start, and I was giving it to AJ.
Took 10 games,
Yeah.
and then we were good.
And good on him. And I'm proud of that. I love stories like that. For me,
Yeah.
for myself, I do. I love it.
Took Ross Colton 10 games. Took
Yeah.
Miles Wood 10 games. Took Evan Rodriguez 12 games last year. Like
13.
sometimes it takes some games for new guys.
Yep. The rest of this presser, I don't really have a ton to say about it. Like we said, it was kind of a lot of words without saying a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of uncertainty.
Also, the other topic of this, Cal Ritchie not likely in the NHL.
No,
They know their
they
product.
sounded
Reiterated.
pretty set on him not being man strong, as they put it.
Reiterated what we were talking about yesterday. He's got to put on strength, and there's no need to rush him.
Yep.
They have the luxury of affording to wait and let him do his thing. If he, as McFarland said, preseason is all about guys kicking down the door and winning jobs.
Yep.
But their development staff follows those types of players so closely, and they have dibs on them, and so they know exactly where he's at. So he's probably not there. I mean, unless some drastic happen. Who knows? We don't know that. But right now he's probably on pace for for the year after to come knocking on the door. Who knows?
I would say something I think some people are overlooking. Right now, estimates are the salary cap's going to go up to about $86 million this offseason. I'm not saying that's a ton of money extra for the Avs to work with, but it's not nothing.
It helps. It's really just that they're spreading out the $10 million jump that's going to happen over 2 years.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's probably going to
Yeah.
get higher because NHL viewership is blowing up.
Yep.
Everybody
doing
hates
pretty well.
TNT and ESPN, but it's doing great for viewership.
You have programs like I forget what it's called, but the cartoon version getting played.
Oh, yeah.
on-
I don't remember what it is either. Adorable.
If nothing else, you have to admit that so far the new television contract has done much better than NBCSP ever did.
Yeah,
So.
you could feel how you feel about the production. Lord knows we
There are
comment
some
on it
problems.
a lot. But viewership is up.
Yep.
It worked.
Yep. Yeah.
I also do like this point. Drouin needs the Avs as much as the Avs need him. I
don't
think that's a
fully
guy.
disagree. Yeah.
That is a guy who, given his trajectory in his career,
Appreciates being comfortable more than
Exactly.
most guys would. Yeah.
that said, how much does that come across? He's not taking a $2 million
Right,
deal for
for
5
sure.
years.
There's a limit
because
there.
he loves Nathan McKinnon so much. That's not going to happen.
Yep.
Well, and again, it's like I said about Gabe. Only him knows Gabe. Only Jonathan knows what the price of happiness
exactly.
will
Absolutely.
be between him and
Absolutely.
Walsh's agent, right?
Well,
and this is
Yep.
a conversation you have.
He has a kid now. He's a
Hey,
guy who
listen,
might be looking to settle down a little bit more.
Hey, he's been through it. It was a rough go in Montreal. It was rough. So when you find that peace of mind, you know what I mean? Sometimes there's, you know what? It's funny. I'll say this like, AJ knows I'm packing up a bunch of my dad's stuff, and I ran into something.
A bunch of it is becoming my stuff.
Yeah, no, but I ran into something, and it had something to do with his last deal here, and my dad, and then it was, and I remember, and it reminded me, the object I saw yesterday was, and it was handwritten in there too. Is this is my happiness? You know what I mean? Could he have gone somewhere else? Could have. You know what I mean? So, but this is my happiness right here. So it's a little bit of the same thing for, Jonathan. You know what I mean? Like, I think once you've seen it, you've been through it, you're a little more mature, then you're like, maybe this is my place. You know what I mean? Then we'll see.
We will see indeed.
And we'll understand too at the end, because we're never going to fault him.
The same thing with Nazem when Nazem Kadri left.
Yeah.
You understand the Avs weren't going to come anywhere near a 7x7.
Yeah. You get one time in your life to get
and
that
he
contract.
was grossly
Yep.
underpaid the last several years of the contract he was
4.3
on.
for that guy was ridiculous.
And so you're talking the Avs did Nazem Kadri love being an Av and being in Denver so much that he was going to give up $10 to $15 million? No. Even if the Avs gave him a 5x5, doesn't sound like it's off that much from a 7x7. You're talking about the difference between $49 million and $25 million.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a ton of money.
But Alan Walsh gets a lot of flack and critics, whatever, about his way of doing things. But I'll tell you one thing about him though: he freaking cares about his players. And when you care about your player, every situation is different. So Jonathan's situation is probably different than, I don't know, Marc-Andre Fleury's situation. I'm just using some of his clients. So there's no way that they're not having that conversation together.
Definitely.
Because Alan cares about, he cares about his clients. And sometimes it pisses you off on the management side, because he's so entrenched in there, But somehow he cares for the well-being of their, and that is a typical example of what is that makes you happy, what is that's the best thing for you, and they'll come up to, and if it works, then awesome, and if it doesn't, then no one's going to fault them, like you said.
If you're looking for a reason to be optimistic about it, Chris McFarland unprompted bringing up the 10% over.
Yep.
And we'll figure out the rest later. Because right now their cap numbers include Gabe Landeskog's $7 million.
Yep.
Of course.
So if you're optimistic about hey, we can spend over, and then we'll figure out the rest later. If that means Landy goes on LTIR on day one of the season, and we spent more money than we have during the year, maybe that's signing Jonathan Drouin.
You're starting to see the pieces fall into place.
Exactly, would be part of that 10% overage.
Yeah, exactly.
So
we're on the same page.
There's the optimistic take of it. The realistic take is that it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
If it was an easy job, a lot more people would do it. Okay.
Look, my shoes are fantastic. Thank you.
They're great.
They are not individual toe shoes. People ask me that all the time.
No, because underneath it looks like it.
It definitely does. They are not individual toe shoes. Those are uncomfortable.
So I think that kind of wraps up the talk about the presser that there was today. And you kind of enter into the full-on off-season mode from here on out. From our perspective, that includes a mailbag day tomorrow. So if you have off-season questions, or honestly questions about anything, doesn't even have to be hockey-related, drop those in. We'll put a tweet out later today. We'll also, if you are a diehard, go tag me at Rudo in the Discord to get priority for your questions. Someone in there usually sets up a thread full of questions. So go ask your questions in there if you want priority. Beyond that, like I already mentioned, go check out the full presser on our YouTube channel. And you can also go check out a bunch of our content over on the DNVR.com. Even though it's off season, we still have tons of stuff out there. I just put out a video on the Avs power play in the playoffs. Megan is currently working on a write-up about this presser that will be out probably either later today or tomorrow. So tons of stuff there. Always a great time to become a DNVR diehard. But that is going to be it for today's show. We will be back tomorrow, and we will talk to you then.
We all silly like the mayor.